have a beef. That's the whole. Well, it's never happened to me, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, man. I'm pissed. No, I'm not really pissed. No, it's it started about this whole conversation around Palytoxin,
Oh,
Palythoa, and this conversation has been going on for years, right? I mean, I remember I got hit with some Palythoa poisoning. Uh, Gosh, it would have been like 10 years ago.
yeah.
In a stupid way, and I was aware of the risk. I bleached the tank. I thought I had detoxified it all, but clearly didn't. Um, but yeah, the gist of it is the argument I see. People will bring it up every once in a while and say these corals are dangerous, and people will say like, oh, you're overestimating it, or you're it's fear mongering, whatever. I've been working with Palythoa for years and years and years. I've never been hit, therefore it's not a problem. And to me, it's the failure in logic there of it hasn't personally affected me, so must be fine, right? It's like, and to me, it's like, hey, I drive around without a seatbelt all the time, and I've never been in an accident, so it's fine to not wear your seatbelt. It's like, ugh, come on.
I,
Um,
I I have
it's
sex
it's
without
it's
a.
it's a lack of empathy in a sense, right?
Yeah. I have sex all the time without a condom. I've never gotten an STD or gotten anybody pregnant. So
Right,
go for it.
right. Yeah, exactly. I jump out of airplanes without a parachute all the time, and I'm fine.
Man, for me, it is definitely, I know without a shadow of a doubt, and I've called them out before, but it is Captain Jerk Pallies. Have my number.
It's Captain Jerkus. Palythoa
Captain
Captain Jerkus.
Captainus Jerkicus.
What do you think, Matt, should be done? I mean, yeah, that's a question.
I mean, just I think talking about it is always good, right? Just education, at least making a warning about it. I mean, who knows? Fish stores could. It's certainly possible that there's fish stores out there that just simply don't even know until you educate.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with telling people all the time, and if they get tired of hearing about it, well, tough. I mean, there's speed limit signs every mile on the freeway for a reason, right? You know what it is, but it's good to be reminded for people who are new to it and don't know what it is already. Um, One thing that I think is worth bringing up too is that, and I want to say this was, gosh, I forget his name. I want to say it was Pearson on the Reef Beef Discord. I could have the name totally wrong, but I want to give him credit for saying that Palythoa poisoning. Also, people who say I have been poisoned by Palythoa might be a mind story too, right? There's a lot of stuff in reef aquariums, and as they pointed out, there's a lot of stuff in aquariums that besides Palythoa that is toxic. Um, there's certain lots of terpenoids produced by soft corals, countless number of them that are
Vibrio.
toxic. I mean, they're using these to fight with each other. Yeah, and besides that, you got Vibrio, Mycobacterium, all these things, just bacteria, but also toxins that could be affecting you. I mean, we've heard stories about people that will cut a soft coral with a scalpel, put that scalpel in their mouth, and then their mouth goes
Oh.
numb and stuff.
First
So
of all, dude, if you're
yeah,
cutting someone with a scalpel and putting your mouth,
yeah,
from the fuck on.
yeah. I mean, kind of absent-mindedly, right? And
Sounds like
so
something
just
I
saying,
did.
there's other stuff. Just because you have Palythoa, don't have Palythoa in your tank, doesn't mean you're like, oh, just go hog wild with ripping stuff apart and everything. Sponges have toxins. Lots of stuff has toxins. They're wild animals. They defend themselves. And in addition, yeah, as I know, I've gotten a mycobacterium infection in my finger. It's good to wash your hands after you stick them in your tank. It's good to just be aware of some of the dangers there. And Vibrio can be a nasty infection, man. It'll spread fast. So yeah, just things to be aware of for everyone.
Yeah, it's great to be skeptical about shit. Like, I and we talked, and it was great discussion on the Discord because it was like, have we seen people claiming that it was palytoxin issues that wasn't compelling, right? And we talk a lot about correlation doesn't equal causation, but I think we've seen a lot of correlation between I chopped up pallies and got really sick, or I boiled a rock with pallies and got really sick, or this is the fourth time I've gotten really sick after fucking with these corals in this particular tank. Yeah, we know I'm talking about you, Ben. It's I think that's cool. I think it's a great discussion, and I'm really glad we have that on the Discord, because it's where the rubber meets the road of compelling evidence versus skepticism, and how that kind of transitions back and forth between the two. So I thought that discussion was great, with Pearson coming back and saying, yeah, right, I was in a bad mood and I may have overstated that case. And then you were going, yeah, but it's a really important point to point out that lots of shit in your tank's going to fuck you up. So the protocols that you use, or could fuck you up, the protocols you use for pallies are not really that different than for anything else. Don't, if I'm messing with corals, I am not putting these near my face or my eyes or my mouth or anything, be careful.
But okay, sort of counterpoint. Okay. Sort of counterpoint. This all makes my head spin when I think that this is what I do for a living. And I'm not, I want to be, trust me, I want to be more careful, but I'm just not. But then my question is it just that the chances are low, or what are the chances that like I'm somewhat immune to some of these things? Is that a possibility or no?
I don't think anybody knows for sure, right? And certainly people can develop worse reactions to things. Just one example, it's kind of a tangent, but we had an aquarist at Steinhardt that she became very sensitive to the stings of upside down jellies, Cassiopeia, which, dude, you can run your hand right across a field of Cassiopeia and not even feel a thing. They have the weakest sting you could possibly imagine. But she had been working with jellies for years and years and years, and eventually it got stronger and stronger reaction to them, to where she couldn't even put her hand in the tank without even touching them, just her hand in the water without it, developing this red rash everywhere. So it's certainly possible that people are getting more reactive to the toxin. I have no idea. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but it certainly seems reasonable.
And that's so weird though, because you hear about, there's other things in nature where you could I don't know if this is bullshit or not, but it seems like I've known someone that, like, you could get bit by a snake a lot of times and it doesn't have as much of effect. There's some cases of over time with more exposure to it that it is less effective to you, but then there's other things that over time are more effective to you.
Sure, like alcohol, right? The more you drink, the more you have a tolerance for it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about palytoxin itself to know, and maybe it's possible that both situations can happen. I don't know. I think, though, just wanted to say, people who maybe are calling it fear mongering or whatever, or oh, it's not going to kill you, whatever, that kind of stuff, which is probably true. I mean, unless you really manhandle it, it's not going to kill you. I would encourage anybody who is a doubter of that, of the danger of it, to watch the video of Julian at, I want to say it was at a Macna. If you just Google Julian Sprung, palytoxin, Palythoa, Macna, whatever, it's a great talk he did. And I want to say it's like a 10 or 15-minute story, but it's very worth watching. We actually include that video as part of our training for volunteers and for aquarists here who are going to work in any tank that has Palythoa in it. We've since removed all the Palythoa from our tanks because of the dangers of it, but we had some, and when we did, we made them watch that video before they ever worked with the tanks. Julian is, I feel like I'm lucky to know the guy, to know somebody as brilliant as he is. He's a very smart guy, very well educated on these topics. He's not doing things and making terrible assumptions. And he, just moved a colony of Palythoa from one tank to another. He didn't rip it apart. He didn't yank polyps in half or anything like that. He simply moved it from one tank to another in a cup underwater, treated it gently, and it made him very, very sick. It killed a bunch of his corals, and he was quite certain that it was the Palythoa that did it. And he didn't have any noticeable cuts or anything on his hand. Maybe he had some small cuts that it went into, but we all have small cuts on our hands pretty much at any given moment, right? So it's like, if it can happen to Julian and wipe him out, that makes me worry a little bit, right? Yeah, right there. There you go.
Yeah, we'll link that video down below. I'll find it and we'll have it linked. And Ben, to your
Yeah.
point about are you lucky or whatever, that's kind of what brought up when I posted, if we found out somebody died from pally poisoning, we wouldn't be surprised. If we found out that you were feeling really sick and then died and it was pally poisoning, we would be very sad, but it would be like, yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah,
that
checks out.
Yeah, it would not shock anybody. And the fact that would not shock anybody
is bad.
Is should tell us something about what we think about pally poisoning.
And Ben, do you think it's getting worse or getting better each time you get hit? Like, not better, but you know what I mean? More tolerant or what?
So mine was from the same tank and was 5 times over the course of probably 2 years. And now, you asked me a question, is it getting worse? I don't think it is, but it has felt and come on the exact same way every single time. And for mine, that's what I was going to say earlier. I wanted to say this on the show because I know I've said this in Discord, but I have since sort of understood what is happening to me, because I was doing all this, it was different ways. I was doing F-Aptasia one time. One time so stupid, but one time I was digging at them with a dental tool. One time I had gloves on, one time I didn't, one time this, one time that. But so what happens is I had the skimmer running, and I'm pretty damn sure that the skimmer was aerosolizing palytoxin on little tiny droplets, and I was breathing that in. Because all 5 times, I work in the day and then I come home and late at night, it feels like I'm starting to get a cold in my upper nasal. And then it goes real fast and I start getting chills. I don't get the chills until I would go to bed, and the chills wake me up. And then the first time this ever happened was when COVID was new, and I thought it was COVID because I was having a hard time pulling in full breaths. It felt like something was sitting on my chest and it hurt. And my God, all 5 of those times, like I had a mountain of blankets on me and was shivering, like my body had completely lost its ability to self-regulate its temperature. And I was just freezing to death like I was in the Arctic. So, and the whole thing takes like maybe 4 hours and then it's gone. And then the next day you're exhausted because your body was doing those shivers. So, you're sore, and it's just so where I'm at now is they're fucking growing in that guy's tank. And it's like, they're going, and it's one of my best tanks. And I'm so scared of them that it's like, I don't know what the fuck to do with them now.
This is like the Scoville scale, or the guy who gets himself stung by stuff. The Johnson scale of how bad Palythoa are going to fuck you up. It's always a 5. It's always the same number.
Yes. I'm trying not to go for 6, but by God, I need the fucking things out of there.
Well, we were talking about that on the Discord about scraping them from the back. You should be able to use a Kent scraper and get them off the glass pretty quick and get them out, and then get the hell out of there. Because we know that these are nasty. Or just do like 2 at a time as you're leaving every time you're there.
And maybe one of those VOC masks. Definitely turn off the skimmer. Make it the very last thing that I do.
Or just hire some kid who doesn't know what they're doing to do it for you.
Just say, hey, lick those off of the back there.
I think the hobby could really benefit from, and I know that these are out there. Who was it? Was it Joe Caparata from Unique Corals? There's got to be a snail or a nudibranch that eats Palythoa, right? I mean, it has to exist.
Some people were saying there was some type of crab, Matt. I think it was a crab.
I wouldn't be surprised. I hadn't heard about a crab, but I thought it was Joe who said this. I can't remember what the heck they're called. I'm sure Julian can pull it off the top of his head, but it's like, holy cow. And he was saying that they like are plucking them off of wild, maricultured colonies or whatever. And it's like, holy cow, like, please save those. Please save those.
$50.
Yeah. And those could be rented out and passed along like a rental car or something. You have them eat all your polyps. you give them back to unique corals or whatever, or you free cycle them or whatever to the next person. In the past, I would have bought those in a heartbeat. And we were trying to get rid of them here. We had it was a big deal to get rid of all our Palythoa. We couldn't just toss them in the garbage either. We had to treat them as hazardous waste and all this other stuff. It was a nightmare. But for somebody at home is trying to get rid of them and is worried about it, it'd be great if there was a biological control, right?
If anybody knows what Matt's talking about or a link to it, let us know, because I wrote it down to do a search for it. That would be great. But if you know it, let me know, because that would be easier than hoping. I have pallies, and I've been getting rid of them as I can. I put some of that Stax rock on top of them, let them grow on it, and then toss them. And usually I toss them and pour bleach on them. They stay underwater. There's a lot of ventilation going where my tank is. I do it the last thing I'm working on, and I take them in the water, and then I pour bleach in the water with them, and then I toss them. And last week I did that, and I tossed them in the trash can and didn't bleach them. I just spaced on the bleaching. The next day I opened that can and threw some stuff away. And then about 3 hours later, I was not feeling right. And yeah. And I have no idea. It wasn't enough for me to know if correlation is causation there or not. Because I didn't get sick enough. And as soon as I felt sick, I immediately got super hypochondriac. And it was like all I could think of was pally poisoning. And I had been exhausted, and there was other things going on.
It was just cancer.
But yeah, it was probably just face cancer.
All of this really confirms a point that I've made for years now, which is fish tanks are stupid.
Yep. Fish tanks are stupid. Everyone should get rid of them. And just let Monterey Bay Aquarium show these animals. What are you doing?
Yeah, just get rid of them all. They're terrible.
It took this many episodes for us to say, just like, quit doing aquariums.